The Trump campaign has given us a preview of how they plan to strategize against Biden if he becomes the Democratic nominee. And it's not looking pretty for Biden, especially because they're focusing on three main issues that will have an impact. His past votes on trade, healthcare, and also his mental fitness for office, which I get is ironic coming from the Trump campaign. But remember, the Trump campaign throws a lot of stones from their glass house, but they seem to never pay the consequences for that. When it comes to Biden, just consider him on the debate stage and how much of an impact that'll make. Now, Tim Murtaugh, who is the Trump campaign spokesperson, had a call with reporters, and this is what we learned through his quotes. First, he said, the myth of Joe Biden's blue collar appeal will be exposed if he's the nominee. He's got a very serious problem in those states. He's voted for NAFTA. He was Obama's chief cheerleader on the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Those are notorious job killers. Joe Biden has serious vulnerabilities on those issues.
Okay, so the fact is they're right. So now Democrats all across the world yell at me, no, you can't tell the truth, don't tell the truth. Pretend he was against TPP, pretend he was against NAFTA. Pretend that people in Michigan and those Midwestern states will like Joe Biden's proposals. None of those things are true. Now, I will also tell you that Trump just passed the new NAFTA deal, which is very similar to the old NAFTA deal. So it's not like Trump's any better. So certainly on the mental decline issue, Trump is arguably worse. On healthcare, he's definitely worse. But their whole philosophy is don't say anything bad about Biden in the primaries. Wait for the Republicans to say it during the general election so he's ambushed. Genius politics, way to go with that.
And look, the primary race isn't done yet.
Yeah.
I know that corporate Democrats and the mainstream media would like us to believe that it's over, but it's not over yet. And so it's important for people to know about the Democratic nominees' vulnerabilities, right?
Shush. Now wait, by the way, do they apply that same principle to Bernie Sanders? No, never. Bernie Sanders, you should know what a socialist, communist person he is. Do you know what he wrote in 1973? Do you know that he had the same answer as Obama to Cuba? I mean, he had this answer on Cuba, oh my God, no one in Florida should vote for him. Hey, what happened to not criticizing the person who might be the nominee? They're nearly tied in delegate count. By the way, understand that when they tell you that they seem to imply that the race is already over, there's a reason for that. Because people like to vote for the winner. And people like to vote for someone who they think is more likely to win. And they want to depress the voter turnout for Sanders' team because, it's already over, don't bother showing up. So that's what the mainstream media does in spreading hundreds of millions of dollars in propaganda. It is when Bernie was leading, none of them were saying it's over, let's wrap it up. Hey, don't say anything bad about Bernie. So they're liars, they're proven liars. You saw it happen with your own eyes. But now they're like, hey, don't say things that are true about Joe Biden.
So it is interesting because one argument that you'll hear, it's the counter argument to everything we've been saying so far, is, well, look, all right, Biden might have some vulnerabilities, but remember, Bernie identifies as a socialist, right? Very dangerous. So that means for sure, Trump will attack him on the socialism thing and he'll lose for sure. Except, funny thing, Trump is calling Biden a socialist. And it doesn't matter. In fact, the Trump camp argues that Bernie and Biden are the same when it comes to their socialist values. Let me give you the statement from Tim Murtaugh. And obviously anyone who's paying attention knows it's not true, but Murtaugh says, quote, they're running on big government socialism. That's what it's called. On healthcare, what they're talking about is a government takeover of the entire system. Joe Biden's use of a public option is a fig leaf and just another way to get the same result.
It's just that's not remotely true. See, look, I just told you when Murtaugh was telling you something that was true. Now I'm telling you what he just said there is preposterous. Joe Biden is not within miles of a socialist or a democratic socialist. Joe Biden actively does not want the government to take over insurance, health insurance, let alone the rest of the medical system. He gets paid by drug companies, he gets paid by insurance companies, they finance his campaign. And so the idea that he's gonna do a takeover of even health insurance is preposterous. And public option is a tiny incremental positive if they can get it through. So, but on this issue, the Republicans are both lying and way worse on policy than Biden.
Right, of course.
Not comparable.
Of course, but my point is, the one thing that gets cited in basically trying to destroy Bernie is he's a socialist. We can't even take that risk. It doesn't matter, right? Because even if Biden is a corrupt corporatist like Trump is, they're still gonna accuse him of being a socialist, right? And then on top of that, there's a lot of video that can be utilized against Biden in the general election because let's face it, he has had gaffe after gaffe. He has had, one memory issue after the next, and that was mentioned in this call with reporters as well. He was quoted as saying he gets up on stage and confuses what state he's in. He thinks Margaret Thatcher is still the prime minister, British prime minister. He can't pull Barack Obama's name out of the air. He's a bad candidate. He's never been good at this. I'm not sure why anyone thought he'd be good this time around. And he's right. And look, people get mad because these videos, we show them on our program. They're shared on Twitter by progressives for good reason, because it's a giant red flag and we're trying to get voters to understand that you're taking a huge risk in making Biden the Democratic nominee. So I'm gonna show the video because I think it's important to show voters the truth. If people don't like that, then go watch some propaganda channel. Take a look.
Joe 30330, he's obviously struggling. If he ever had a fastball, he lost it. If he ever had a softball, he lost that too. The man can barely get out a sentence before he loses his train of thought. The fits of anger, bizarre moments, agitation are pretty troublesome. And by the way, he just seems completely incapable of recalling basic fundamental facts like, oh, I'm running for president, not the Senate.
If Donald Trump mixed up Iowa and Ohio once, the media, and you know where I'm going on this one, right, guys? The media would be on TV. Every tele-psychologist would say, Donald Trump has lost his mind. He's in the later stages of dementia and a combination of Alzheimer's. He's not fit to run. Joe Biden doesn't know what state he's in 50% of the time.
Bernie was so frightening, they picked a man that is showing obvious signs of dementia, which is astounding. Because if you consider that what he's displaying gets worse, what's he gonna be like 3 years from now? Yeah. If he doesn't know what state he's in, he can't figure out who his wife is, and if he thinks 150 million people, which is half the population roughly of America, got killed, then what's he gonna be like 2 years from now when that illness gets worse?
Do you think?
I don't think we should look, we're dealing with who's gonna be the president of the United States, and we shouldn't pussyfoot around with this. The man has something wrong with him. And it's serious.
They're gonna eviscerate him.
No, they are. And look, don't think I don't understand how ridiculous it is to have Rudy Giuliani make these arguments. Mr. like butt dial reporters constantly and say out of control things on a daily basis. Like that's who Rudy Giuliani is. I totally understand how ridiculous it is for him to throw these types of stones. But at the same time, unfortunately, there's way too much evidence to what they're saying, right? Forgetting the Declaration of Independence. You know the
all
thing.
All men are created what? Everyone knows the rest of it. You don't have to know the rest of the whole statement. All men are created what? Unequal? No, equal. All men are created equal. Look, guys, I'm with Anna. I've been talking about the 25th Amendment in relation to Trump for a long, long time. Anybody who watches the show knows that. The guy keeps saying oranges instead of origins. That's Donald Trump. So none of these guys have a leg to stand on, but that doesn't matter. They're gonna roll the video of Biden making one mistake after another until he has 0% chance of getting elected. And there's truth to it. He said Super Thursday instead of Super Tuesday. He's been in politics for over 5 decades. Everybody knows it's Super Tuesday. He's in New Hampshire, one of the first 2 states. He calls it Vermont. He called his wife his sister. Guys, there's something wrong with him. He said he was running for Senate. There's something wrong with him. And so right now, since I've been saying that, of course, predictably, I've got nothing but attacks from the establishment, the media, the Democratic Party, etc. You monster, how could you possibly bring up things that are so obviously true?
Let them cry.
Okay, but first of all, look guys, 2 things about that. Number 1, if you remember during the whole thing about, Hillary Clinton has mental trauma, like she has some sort of brain injury, right? What did I say? I said that was total nonsense.
Right.
And some progressives got mad at me. I'm like, there's no evidence of that in her speeches, in the debates. I don't agree with her policy, but she's perfectly fine mentally. The other guy, on the other hand, Donald Trump, has got massive issues. In this case, look, but this is so important. It doesn't matter what we say now. Those guys you just saw are gonna say that on a loop for 4 straight months, 6 straight months. And then what's gonna happen? All the rest of cable news is gonna say, well, there's nothing we could do. The Republicans made it an issue, so we all have to talk about it. They're gonna spend 6 months debating if Joe Biden has lost his entire mind or half his mind. And the Democrats will have 0% chance of winning. And they're gonna blame me for giving you the warning that there's an iceberg straight ahead. And we're gonna run smack into it. And Trump will easily defeat Biden. When this whole process started, I thought every single Democratic candidate can beat Trump. Trump is actually deeply unpopular. But then Joe Biden started his mental decline right in front of our eyes. Well, I didn't know he was in mental decline. In mental decline, none of them can win.
Right.
If Bernie was in mental decline, I'd say don't vote for him. Let's bring Warren back. Let's do something. Because we have principles.
Right. If Bernie were in mental decline, no one would be upset at you for doing the exact same commentary on Bernie, right? The media, the establishment Democrats would have like a field day attacking him. And so look, I think Sam Seder made a really good point that I want to emphasize on this show as well. It's not just that Biden is vulnerable and likely to lose when he's up against Trump. It's also if, best case scenario, he wins, you have a president in mental decline.
Yeah, and
that is not, do we want to find ourselves in that situation?
It doesn't matter. With this state, he has no chance of beating Trump. So they could cry, all the establishment, go cry in your corner. I don't care. It's super obvious. And like last time, you'll say, oh, you told us not to pick Hillary Clinton. And when she lost to Donald Trump, a moron and a buffoon and incompetent, etc., it was your fault for warning us. Are you? And they're doing it again. They're doing it again. Cenk, don't warn us that we're making a tragic mistake, because then we'll blame you afterwards. So he had this Joe Biden, and look, guys, his own advisors say they do not allow him to do afternoon events. They want him to be able to sit in the next debate with Bernie because he gets tired, and then he has trouble concentrating.
Great.
He's gonna get mauled by the Republicans, mauled. Where the minute Biden wins the nomination, you just reelected Donald Trump. So congratulations, establishment. You could blame me and other progressives till the cows come home, but you did this. You hid his problems during the primary, and I guarantee you, mark my words, write it down in stone. Every cable news host that is right now refusing to talk about Joe Biden's mental decline, every single one of them will talk about it non-stop if he's the nominee for the general election. They'll say, there's nothing we could do. Republicans made it an issue. Okay, I'm making it an issue. No, you're a progressive, you're invisible, you don't count. We never listen to progressives. We are biased against progressives. We support the establishment, but if the Republicans say it, oh, mighty Republicans, we'll talk about it 24/7. Every one of them will do it. It's an absolute guarantee. There's only one way to stop it. The next 9 days, you got to vote against Joe Biden. Otherwise, you're electing Donald Trump. That's my true opinion. The rest of it, it's on you guys. Good night and good luck.
And I also want to just say one last thing about what keeps me up at night. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, that keeps me up at night. She keeps me up at night. So there's a lot. They're gonna have 7 seats on the Supreme Court. They're gonna have 7 seats on the Supreme Court. They're like, Cenk, don't say that because we got to beat Trump. That is what I'm saying. I'd bring back Klobuchar today and give her all of Joe Biden's delegates. I'd bring back any conservative Democrat and give him all of Joe Biden's delegates and let him run the rest of the race. The guy's in mental decline. He has no chance of beating Trump. And we're walking straight into that iceberg. We're walking straight off the cliff like, oh, I don't see a cliff. Hey guys, hey, I turned on MSNBC and CNN. They told me there was no cliff. Let's keep on going. Okay, so it's not anywhere near over. We got massive states coming up. But if Biden's the nominee, we're toast. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.